Okay, I have 10:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Land acknowledgement in the spirit of respect, truth, and reconciliation. We honor and thank the Indigenous people from the traditional and unceded lands we operate. Can I have acceptance of the agenda? I realize, that you want to make an amendment as a late immersion item, Andy?
Yeah, do I need to do that now or just add it?
No, you have to ask what it is, and then we need the board, the committee to approve this, because as our policy, Tuesday was the deadline. This is a late emergent item, so we need the committee to support the amendment for a late emergent item.
Okay, so I'd ask for that, please.
What's the item?
Request the item is specific to cell phone and internet service in our Lower Columbia communities.
I'm okay with that.
Anybody opposed? Okay. I'm gonna remind the committee again, once again, we did agree on the fact that we were trying to restrict late emergent items coming, especially at this time during the budget year, and it was required for majority vote every time.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and if we have time, we'll cover it. If we don't, we don't. Okay, acceptance of the agenda as amended. Thank you.
Yep.
Nobody opposed. Minutes of the East End Service Committee, 18 November 2025.
Move this.
I believe there's an amendment from Ally.
Yeah, small amendment. Thank you very much, Chair. I have discussed briefly with the Chair and Recording Secretary in item 6A of the previous minutes. We were writing a letter regarding CKIS and Columbia Basin Trust. It said for clarity, but it didn't say for what. So for clarity on the reduction in financial contributions. So I've spoken to them already because it didn't say for what, that's all. So just a minor amendment there if that's, so I move that.
Okay, and seconder. Okay, move as amended. Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Okay, election of vice chair. Nomination.
Oh, I'd like to nominate to the chair, Director Morales.
Okay,
I like this, Dan.
okay. Any other nominations?
I'll make that nominee, Ellen.
That's okay. No, thank you very much. I'm good.
So you're okay?
Yeah.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. Got it, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, instruction of ballots done. Delegations, skill centers. Mariah Cotter, you have the floor.
Just get that.
Yeah, take your time. Block at the start until you sit down and start talking.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think that's fair.
Sorry.
Oh, I think that's
block-
fair.
Yeah, the timing on your presentation doesn't start until you start talking.
Until I.
You don't have to rush and like crutches.
All right.
Look, I'd love to say I was doing something really exciting, but I was just not paying attention on an icy day, wearing stupid shoes. There we go. So thank you very much for hearing from us today. This is a difficult moment for the Skills Centre, and I wanted to both talk to you about that, ask for your support, and also encouragement. Next. Oh, thank you, James.
Please just give me a nod when you need to move on.
The Skills Centre was founded in 1997. So over almost 30 years ago, actually, to serve the communities in the Greater Trail area, what we now know as the Lower Columbia or the South Kootenays, focusing mostly on employment services, delivering various iterations of the Work BC program. In 2010, the Skills Centre started to think about some of the broader issues around employment, particularly, and community development, particularly issues around poverty reduction and the role of women in our regional workforce. Currently, in addition to ongoing poverty reduction programs, we also offer a range of pre-employment programs that support clients that have multiple barriers getting into the workforce and sustaining employment. We serve clients in the East Kootenay, the West Kootenay and the Boundary, but still primarily in the Lower Columbia. So the purchase and retrofit of 1060 Eldorado Street was a more than $7 million investment in the City of Trail and in our community. We used our own reserves to purchase the building and raised additional funding from a range of funders that included the federal government, local and regional donors, including the CBT, Kootenay Savings, Tech, ETCBC, the Leroy Foundation, Canadian Tire, Hilltech, Italo Cadenzi, and individual donors living in the area, as well as several philanthropic donors, several philanthropic funders from outside of BC. In fact, one was from Quebec and another is based in Ontario. We still carry a mortgage on the building, and that's also held locally by Kootenay Savings. The building was conceived as a regional resource. We wanted the renovated space to be a place where our clients could access great services in a building that was welcoming and supportive. It was also an important piece of community economic development and a much needed investment in city revitalization. We wanted to model energy conservation and environmental sustainability, and to show that a retrofitted building could meet these goals and also be beautiful. We wanted to ensure that the building was fully accessible to every citizen, no matter what barriers they experienced. And we wanted to ensure that there were facilities in the region where not-for-profits and community groups had access to a professional space with state-of-the-art and easily accessible technology that would support a wide variety of uses and needs. We designed the space to accommodate multiple users with different needs. In addition to the Skills Centre, there are 4 permanent tenants in the building: the Family Action Network, the FAIR, the Kootenay Vein Injury Association, and Kootenay South Storm Football Association. This space has elevated these organisations, their staff, their programs, and their ability to serve their clients. The space has been used as a training centre for community consultations and community meetings. It's been used by community boards, by unions, and by businesses. Examples include the Dementia Society and for their NAVCare meetings, Trail Elderly Citizens Housing Society, the Rotary, Tech, BC Housing, BC Nurses Union, RBC, the City of Trail. And we've also made the warehouse space attached to the Skills Centre available potentially for an emergency shelter during the extreme cold of winter. So the next 2 slides, which I'm sure you already have in your pack, are testimonials from people who have used it. In our current funding model, we are offering 2 federal programs that are funded through until fiscal 2027. Currently a provincial program which will end at the end of March 2026. 3 additional small work BC programs for training for very specific occupations, including bus drivers, nursing unit clerk, and carpentry foundations, and they'll be completed at the end of 2026. Many smaller donations and some foundations support poverty reduction programming. However, we still have a significant, approximately $150,000 shortfall for fiscal year 2026-27. Over the years, we've invested widely in diversifying our funding base, but we are still dependent on federal and provincial labour market funding for our programs. There has been both a realignment of priorities and investments in building new markets for Canadian goods, services. So the wider environment that we're working in has created investments in new markets for Canadian goods, services, and products in response to tariffs and other pressures from the US. from the federal government, a significant reduction in the labour market agreement for all provinces included a $50 million reduction for BC for labour market programs. So for the BC government to offer for organisations across the province. This has obviously had a very significant impact on available programme funding and opportunities. So far, there have been no new provincial programs that have been tendered in 2026. And when you're an organisation that is waiting on those programs and using them as part of your funding model, it means that we're really feeling the pinch. We do know that there will opportunities to compete for programs contracts in the next funding year, but in the meantime, we're doing everything that we can to stay open and serve the community. Over the last 9 months, we have eliminated virtually all of our discretionary spending, eliminated extraneous expenses, and implemented other measures to reduce costs, including layoffs, all while continually fundraising to increase income and further diversify our funding. Because of the investment that we made in the new building, the Skill Centre received a 5-year property tax exemption from the City of Trail, which we are incredibly grateful for. However, we are still paying $45,000 in property taxes to the regional district for this year. We know that it's too late to ask for a tax exemption for 2026 for the RDKB, but we would like to request an amount in support, not necessarily equivalent to the $45,000, but probably around about $30,000 for this fiscal year instead. We will be making an application for tax exemption later in 2026 for the 2027 year, but we're really hoping that you will help us build this help us bridge this gap. It's clearly not going to completely fill our gap, but the investment that you make in the Skills Centre allows us to leverage that from other funders who can see that there is strong community support for the work that we're doing at the Skills Centre. So we hope that you will consider that request.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Ali?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just one more. Thank you for the presentation. Assuming that your tenants are all paying rent of some kind, have they been asked for any increases in what they're paying?
No. Well, I mean, the rent increase for the year, I mean, it's a small increase. I mean, the point of this building was to make the space available for not-for-profits,
Right.
who are also struggling.
Yeah.
We're all in the same boat. So,
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Morgus, thanks for the presentation. Is there more opportunity for renters in the space?
yes, there is absolutely,
Okay.
and we continue to shop the spaces either for short-term temporary rentals or for permanent space.
And does it have to be just for not-for-profits, or could it be an accountant or a lawyer or something like that?
We are completely open to that. I mean, when we developed the funding proposals particularly for the federal government, we conceived of the space as being an area where the many not-for-profits in the region could actually access affordable, accessible space. But if there are small businesses around that would also like to access space, we'd be open to that. I mean, we don't want to encroach on other business models. I mean, for example, Community Futures holds space for small businesses in their building, and we're very conscious of not wanting to scalp other people's business, to build our own.
And the community kitchen has, I'm assuming, some opportunities as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty busy. So
Okay, good to hear.
Frank?
Yeah,
And then Linda?
thank you, Maureen. Is there any indication yet when the provincial government's going to say yay or nay or whatever their decisions
on
your programs?
So yes, there is actually. They are not tendering. So they did not tender programs last year. So this was a there's significant consternation on our part. They will be tendering programs later on in the year. What's happened with the provincial government is that clearly a $50 million hit is a big hit to absorb. So it looks like what they've been doing is reassessing where all of their programs are tendered from. So they've made some changes in the various different ministries about, who's going to be tendering what. And we have been told that programs will roll out later on in the year.
Later on,
Yeah.
so the other 40%.
We're thinking probably late summer, and early fall, and the work BC program is also going to be tendered later.
And your fiscal year is April 1st.
April 1st to
Right.
March 31st.
And how much are you short right now? Rich.
So our short for next year is $150,000 based on the model that we have right now, which involves laying off a number of staff.
So you have to restructure by April 1st.
Linda?
Frank you answered Frank's question, which was part of my question. So, and have you found any other sources for income?
Yeah, I mean, we have built a model over the last 8 years of significantly diversifying our funding, and we continue to do that. But our core funding, the funding that pays the mortgage, that provides the facility, comes mostly from the provincial government, and some from the federal government as well. So the federal government are now beginning to tender programs again, which is fantastic. The provincial government are not going to be doing it until the end of the year, and that's what leaves us with a little bit of a dilemma.
And further, I mean, through the chair, and as a not-for-profit, are you going to apply for Ready Grant?
Yes, absolutely. It's on the agenda for this year.
Good.
So,
Glad to hear that, because it'll come to all of us.
fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, so it's no further questions. So I'm just confirming what you're requesting is $30,000
Yeah.
back from regional districts.
Yes,
In addition, you're going to put in a requisition to be tax exempt for next year, 2027.
later on in the year. So that
Yes,
would
in
be,
the June timeframe, probably.
yeah.
Okay, Mike?
So are you asking, you're still paying $45,000 to the
We
regions?
are, yes.
You want it dropped down to 30,000?
No, we-
15.
Or you want 30 on top of that?
So we give you 45,000 at the moment, and we would love you if you would give us a portion of that back. So $30,000 back. That'd be really fantastic and very helpful for this year. We have no idea how helpful it would be actually.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everybody. Motion to receive the presentation.
Yeah.
Valley, Carrie, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Columbia Trail Society, Stuart Spooner.
Morning, everybody. Sounds like a busy agenda, so I'll keep it relatively brief. I've provided you with a report which summarizes what we've been doing and where we're going. What a highlight from this past year, we dealt with an exceptional amount of windfall from a unprecedented winter storm back in December. Had some much appreciated help from Linda and funding through a recreation grant to employ some forwards to get out there to help us with some of the more complicated issues. We also had a focus on replacing some of the very popular community trails which were incorporated into Red Mountain's commercial bike park. So with some commitment from Red Mountain and cooperation of the City of Roslyn, some property, we focused on building a couple of new trails, one which we opened, provide some pictures of these spectacular bridges we built. It's been a great success. People are really stoked on what we've created, very busy, and it's even been, very busy in wintertime. We have a group of volunteers that get up there and pack the trails down for winter mountain biking, and they're actually packing this trail down for winter. And with the relatively modest ski season we're having, a lot of people out there riding their bikes year round, so that's working out well. moving forward, we just had since I prepared this report, we had a strategic planning meeting with my new board of directors, just trying to set our direction for the coming year. Looks like we're getting another crazy windfall event. We had that windstorm back in December this year, and it looks like it's deja vu all over again. We'll be dealing with that. We're continuing to sort of identify what community wants in regard to new and different types of trails. So we have some ideas for what we're going to do there, including focusing on trying to develop an additional mountain bike trail to the network of trails that have started out in Fruitvale in the Barclay Creek area. So we want to do something new out there. And we're also wanting to be prepared for, if and when federal or provincial funding becomes available for big new projects. We want to have we want to do the back end stuff, the planning and the authorizations, so that we have something ready for if and when the money starts flowing in that way. And both this year and moving forward, we're also putting a real focus on engaging our volunteers. We've heard from our community that people really want to get out there and get together with their friends and dig on the trails. So we're making sure that we're creating enough opportunities so that whatever demand there is out there, we can meet it. So we're really doing that. That's generally what we're doing. Trails are popular. We're working hard. We appreciate the funding we get from this organisation. We're just looking for a standard CPI increase this year. We're busy taking that money and leveraging it with as many grants as we can from as many people that are giving it away. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Any questions, concerns? Here to address them. Holly?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's an absolutely beautiful bridge that was built on whatever trail that is. And so always good work from your crews. You have a funding sheet here showing where all the funding comes from.
That's right.
So just a really simple request on that funding sheet, because it shows regional district recreation grant of 15,000.
That's right.
The communities that give that money do like to be recognized. So that's Beaver Valley, I believe.
There's two amounts there. So there is.
The regional district rec grant of 15, I believe that's Beaver
That was the
Valley.
Beaver Valley Recreation Committee operating grant. And then there was a separate one as an RDKB recreation grant. So one's from area A and one's from area B.
Well,
So there's two amounts there.
the one from, okay, the BV Rec operating grant
Yes,
is the Beaver Valley,
that's correct.
not Area A. Fruitvale, Montrose, and Area A.
Okay, I should clarify that.
And just, it's important to the residents to know that they are doing that.
Okay.
Just, Mark Danes is here, and I think I talked to him about that earlier. So just, it's the three communities.
Okay. So we should mark that as area.
Beaver Valley Rec, or Fruitvale, Montrose area.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've put down there. BVRC.
Yeah, sorry.
But I can be more clear about that, sure.
I just think the communities like that, Stu,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
all, no big deal. But the communities do like to see that. And as you're going into your 30th year,
Yeah.
are you planning any celebrations for your 30th
I mean,
in your spare time?
I think we should. I tend to focus on the operations side of things. I
Yeah.
have a board of directors that, deal with the more public facing and community relations side of things. I'm certainly going to suggest that to them, but it really depends on, the enthusiasm and creativity of my volunteer board. But yeah, I think we should, and I'll definitely be,
I just think you've got lots to celebrate.
I think so too.
Thanks, Stu.
And
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Stuart, for all the work you continue to do over all these years for Area B. It's very much appreciated and beyond, because these trails and walkways and bike trails and everything else are all used by so many people from outside of our area, the Lower Columbia, as well as from, like Ali, the RDKB recreation grant, that would be Area B. So just if you could put Area B there, I'd
Sure.
appreciate it. Again, it designates, because those are my taxpayers. And they like to know that this money is going towards something that's benefiting everybody. So,
absolutely.
and further to that, too, you said your 30th, which is a great celebration and a great thing to have. Just be aware that CBT is funding has a program right now where they're funding community events put on by societies.
Wow.
So if
Right.
I've alerted that to the new Blackjack group that's come on to my recreation commission and let them know because they want to put on something as well. So if you do do one together or do one separate or whatever you want, since you all work together for.
Appreciate that. I'll follow up. I'm trying to get money out of who's giving it away. So they'll be hearing from me.
I would definitely get hold of CBT on that one.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Sooner than later, because it's a program they've opened up and it's really important to piggyback on those if you can.
I'll definitely try.
And if you need more help, just let me know.
Okay, we're still, not totally clear what sort of windfall disaster we're dealing with. We suspect the worst, but, once we've had a chance to actually do an inventory, we might let you know.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Frank. Oh, you're just scratching your head, sorry. Okay, I only have one question. When you're, like, we started, I was way back when you started small, and we slowly added on more and more trails.
Yes.
More complex and more of that. So how do you manage the maintenance requirements on these trails with the expansion you're doing and keeping it within a certain dollar limit, like you're?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment, we feel like we're within our capacity to do that. We're not expanding beyond what we can do because we have more trails, if we build the trails well and we diversify our revenue, we can handle things. When we're considering expanding in a significant way, which we were, I believe it was about 7 years ago, we came to our funders and asked for that commitment. If we were thinking that we're going to, ramp up the amount of trail that we're going to be responsible for by 25 or 30%, we couldn't do that with our existing budget. If we had an appetite to do that, which we don't currently, but if we did, we would come to this board as we did at that time, and we would say, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're going to expand our trail network by this much, and we need our ongoing funding commitment to be in proportion to that. And so we wouldn't take that on without having conversations with our key funders, this board and the City of Roslyn, and we would require, it would be a conversation about a commitment to that expansion. Because, we don't want to go over our skis too far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're expanding in small ways where we can within our existing capacity. And we're cognizant of that. We have a lot of groups and interest from the community that are, everybody's got ideas for new places, for new trails and new things they want to do. We need to meet some of that because we don't want to be stagnant. We want to keep meeting the demand of our users, but we also want to keep that within what we can actually maintain. And we're doing that right now. We're not looking to go into some large expansion phase. If we were, I'd come back here and asking you what you thought and whether that was something that you could fund.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate your thought.
So motion to receive the presentation. Ali, Harry, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Stuart. Good presentation. 8, unfinished business, budget notes, East End Services 2026 planning guidance. I'll hand it over to James first, and then I'll talk a bit.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. So this was originally targeted to bring the feedback from the comments as Bill had put out through the financial sort of planning process to just try and bring together those thoughts that folks might be considering across all of our services. And by the time we got that information, we were kind of up against the deadlines in November, so postponed to bring it back to now, as we didn't have meetings in December. So categorized really, thanks to Laura, kind of putting all the comments, dragging them together and color coding them just for continuity through the document. And I'll hand it back to Bill, because really we're looking as staff for your guidance on any common themes, direction and next steps. Certainly, if any of these may influence budget, that we're in a pretty short cycle now for next year. So we got between now and February. So I think we see these really as the long-term goals, and I think that was what some of the intent was, to focus future direction in consideration. So looking for feedback, and I'll hand it back to Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So before I give you my ideas, does anybody else want to jump in with one?
Go
Go ahead.
Well, I think this is a very possibly time-consuming exercise to go through everybody's ideas on how we want to bring them forward.
Well, my thoughts run this process now that we have a vice chair is that I will be sitting down with the vice chair and the two of us would have a little hour break, go consolidate it, look at long-term, then talk to staff and then bring it back to the next meeting.
Wait a minute.
You wanted the job. It's not a backup position.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm just using my authority to tell you to do something.
Yeah.
It's always been my joy to have Fruitvale ask Roslyn to do something.
All right.
But I appreciate your help on this, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the committee's okay with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just following up, I think that's a good way to go, I think, considering what we have on our agenda today.
Yeah.
And, then we each have the opportunity to go back and focus on some trends or themes in there we
Yeah.
want to bring forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
Just a quick response is, my only concern is there were a couple of items that were timely. And that I know, James, that you said that we talked about long-term here mostly. One of the reasons we brought it up in November, if I remember right, was we were hoping that we could influence the budget cycle this time of year. However, I realize a lot of these are big asks. But there is still opportunity, I would think, within it to talk about a couple of things and.
well, that's why I think that when I sit down before the next meeting, we can get it
Okay.
into the agenda.
Well, through the chair, but it's needed to Andy's point and further to mine, if we need to have an extra meeting just to focus in on some budget issues,
Okay,
that's an opportunity as well. I think this is a big conversation.
It is.
okay,
Is that just
Yeah.
a thought?
I'll take it in and
Okay.
talk to staff. I'll talk to Andy and we'll come up with something.
Before we leave the item, I would ask that feel free, I'm looking at Mike, Frank and Terry to provide any more feedback that you wish to see. Perhaps to take away and in preparation for the next meeting.
Yeah, once I'll sit down with Andy after the meeting, we'll come up with a time where the two of us can sit down and based on that deadline, we'll send out an email saying if you want to add more before Andy and I sit down. We'll go to.
Okay.
I just don't want it to be a Bill show. I'd like a Bill and Andy show.
I don't want it to be that either.
Okay, so the motion is the fact that the president, the chair and the vice chair will review the stuff with staff. The information with staff and plan on maybe an additional meeting or bringing it to the next East End Services meeting.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Well, I'll make the motion, but I'm saying I think we do need an extra meeting and I think that's up to us.
Yes, okay, I was just,
But can I use your words?
yes,
But, and we'll schedule an additional meeting before the next regularly scheduled meeting. Is that okay?
yes. Do you want to read that out? So
Yeah, that the East End Services Committee request that the chair and vice chair review the information with staff, and we'll schedule an additional meeting prior to the budget meeting in February.
Prior to the next meeting in February,
Yeah.
because of the other stuff on it too. Thanks, Laura.
And so,
Perfect.
second,
That sounds good.
anybody opposed? Carry.
Thanks for doing it. Bill and
Okay. Work plan and budget, East End Transit. We want to start with Danica, or are you gonna do?
Thank you. Yeah, through the chair, we are joined today. We have online Danica. This is really our work plan and what's coming. Budget. Drivers, Danica's here not specifically to present her own information, but just sharing in a large part of our service. Is the operations. There's some questions I know that folks have about fleet and EV fleet. So just a quick overview for our operations and primarily budget. you may be pleased to see in an intent in the current budget shown with a 1.8% reduction. So that's a bit of a shift, really because of where we are with the projects. The work plan's not changed, as we know there are a couple of priorities. Again, if you've got a quick question on details, Danica can share further info. But the downtown exchange is very close to pending approval. There's an upcoming presentation with the city to get those construction plans ready to go and get to tender for construction in this coming year. And the new workshop facility is proceeding in Junelle, as you know, and there are some comments and things ongoing with the school district that I'll let Danica add to. I'll finish with the budget summary, and I think what we're at with the 5-year plan and my ads to the committee today is we've gone from looking to fund the projects in full. We have a large reserve for this service, as you know. But the model that BC Transit sort of promote, and I think makes sense for these major capital assets, is that they were built into the operating contracts going forward. So our next operating contract for 26, 27 and onwards will increase as these major assets get completed and come into service. So that's the typical model that they're amortized over 20 or 30 years because they're long service life and assets. So instead of us having a large upfront capital, which we can do, it'll be built into the operating contract. So we'll see a progressive increase. And where we're at today with the budget is that gap between our requisitions and income being able to meet and match that, what will be an annual operating agreement. But we have over $1 million that we built up in reserves for projects and expansion. And so what I'm looking to do based on input from yourselves and priorities is to use that reserve to progressively offset increases in the requisition in maybe a 5, 6, 7 year plan, so that as we build those costs in to the operating contract and we look at what our service levels are, then we're dealing with some annual increments that may be palatable to get us to where we need to be for long-term sustainability of the service. And that kind of adds to the opportunity to do that through the next few years, while we know we want to look at the other piece of the service review this year that BC Transit are committed to support us within this year. And the goals around that from a timeline, if we see service changes that we want to do for a transit service level, our goal would be September. So the next year's contract with BC Transit, they prepared the draft for us to first sort of look at what that is around about September time. And then shortly after, we're looking to adopt the 27 onwards sort of agreements that we have with them. So between now and September is a great time for us to look at the service review, the data on the routes, as we've talked about, and consider if we want to make some changes. So then BC Transit have the ability to mirror those changes in with their future contract with us. So that's the overview. Or if there are topic specifics that we would like to ask or get a quick update from Danica, I'm glad that she's joining us as well today. Thanks.
Okay. Do you want questions or do you want some questions right now?
I'm happy to have Danica if she has anything to add beyond what is already provided. Or just a Q&A.
I don't have anything else to add to that.
I'm still new to this, so I want to understand. So this purchasing of the trail exchange and the works yard, at the end of it, is this a joint shared facility, or is this owned by the regional district, or who owns this?
Danica, do you want to jump on that one?
Sure. So respectfully through the chair, the transit exchange, I believe, will be an asset that is owned by the local government. And the operations and maintenance facility in Janelle will be a BC Transit owned facility that the regional district will pay lease fees for.
Okay, further to that question then, is that local government the city of Trail or the regional district or both? Do we know?
So that's why ultimately it'll be the city of Trail will own the infrastructure improvements that are within that that jurisdiction, which is why they're party and they're really the ones approving the design because it's their infrastructure. Ultimately, as the regional district service, pretty much the only current infrastructure we own when it comes to investments is that the asset of the bus shelters. So if we put bus shelters in, those are paid for and bought by the service. That's about the easiest way to think about limiting infrastructure.
Ellie?
Thanks. Further to your question, Bill, and maybe through you to Danica, but if the province is going to own the new facility in Janelle, we're still paying for the capital improvements or our portion of it. I just want a clarification on that piece. Do we have a cost yet on what those capital improvements are going to cost somebody in Janelle? And are we paying 20% of those capital improvements?
I'll jump in with that one because Danica and I had some brief discussion. I think if you recall, that's kind of ongoing for them to go how much they're investing in this, the refurb plans. Danica, they're coming back in February with kind of a much more detailed update. And I think here in this conversation, it'd be useful for us to come back and provide some real clarity around the ownership model and the cost disbursement between the lease fees, the capital investment, when we come back, because I don't think we have all of that at our fingertips right now.
And a follow-up, if I could. I shared an article with the East End Services a while ago about the use of electric buses in rural communities or communities outside environments like the Lower Mainland, where there's terrain challenges and temperature challenges, where the cities of Regina and Edmonton have seen some significant failures with the use of EV buses. I have a concern with our investment in EV buses. And so I guess I'm not excited about investing in those types of buses and therefore caution about what kind of designs are presented for Janelle with charging stations if we're not all buying into the EV buses.
Linda?
I completely agree with Director Grieve on this and have had discussions about this. I'm not in favor of EV buses. We don't have the infrastructure to support them, for one. We would have to be putting in, we know what the cost is of putting these in. We've done so because we had to move to electrification for the regional district. But I honestly do not believe that they are suitable for our climate, for the way the terrains we have to travel in, because these buses don't just stay here. They go all the way up the lakehead to the north end of Kootenay Lake and back. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a lot of investment into something that is not totally suitable because one size does not fit all. And I feel that province has to come to understand that for rural areas. Thank you.
Terry?
Well, thank you through the chair. Just to share a story about a local school bus driver who mentioned to me last year that they had an electric bus in the school bus fleet. It broke down and it sits now at the shop not being repaired because they couldn't get parts for it. So it was basically sitting there for parts. Just some information, that's all.
Adding sugar out of the curry. Andy?
City of Nelson is using electric buses and it's committed to more electric buses, I understand. It'll be interesting to hear your experiences. I think thus far they're pretty happy with it, but one thing with charging infrastructure, there's a lot of grant money out there. And regional districts taken advantage of that grant money. And I'm sure under this circumstance, we'd be looking at opportunities, both BC Transit and RD would be looking at opportunities there for charging infrastructure too. So I'm not sold that it's not an option, one way or the other yet. So certainly keen to hear more information and more, statistics on successes elsewhere with it or failures.
And just in response to this, Danica wants to add anything around BC Transit's kind of approach with the buses, because I know it's ongoing. I think that's something we'd take as well as feedback and bring into the updates about where we're going with the intent for that for the new workshop when we come back in February.
Ally,
Sorry, and I think when we discussed a service review last year sometime, I mean, in our service review, the point of the ask was to look for cost savings. So I'm not sure in all these plans how we're going to find that, but that was the whole point of asking for a service review, just to remind BC Transit, Danica, and James as well, that was the idea.
Yeah, I just want to add to that too, that we see a lot of it. I see, and our community sees a lot of inefficiencies when it comes to use of transit buses, a lot of empty buses. And we think that there's got to be a better model out there for serving our communities. And I don't know if BC Transit's looking at, the incredible costs of operating buses in rural British Columbia. I know other jurisdictions in the country are looking at different models for supporting rural transit, micro transit, rideshare services. Our requisition this year in Roslyn is going to be over $300,000. And I know Area A is getting close to that. I know obviously with us being 300, trails are going to be considerably more than that.
368.
There you go. And so just looking at that and recognizing that there might be a much better way to support the need for public transit in other ways, I think needs to be explored.
Yeah. Sorry, on that, I have spoken to our MLA about our concerns for rural transit. At our conferences we go to, we have spoken to East Kootenay and Central Kootenay, and everybody's saying the same thing. Andy's right, the Beaver Valley was paying $300,000. We're now at $400,000. I could never have ridden those buses to work. So it's like, you got to work around, and we can't expand the service because we can't afford it. But the catch is I could never have ridden the bus to work, and neither could a bunch of other people. So I know Steve Morissette is very aware of our challenges of cost of delivering this at a huge subsidy for each and every ride.
So I totally agree about looking at the model that we have, because, we all notice the empty buses most of the time coming through our neighborhoods. The other thing, and I love the fact that we're zero increase in requisition. When I look at this table for the budget, we're going to decrease by $31,000 from last year on 1.7 million. No one's going to notice that difference. I'm wondering if we keep that and put that in a reserve or infrastructure levy.
Okay, Linda.
I support that idea. I do not like a zero. At least cost of living, something, but put that money aside.
Well, I'm not asking for an increase in the more increase in requisition. Leave it at zero and use that 30,000 or 31,000 or something else.
I agree with that.
If I may jump in, if you want to go to the budget, James. But page 2. There's the requisition, and you'll see it's minus 1.82 for 2026. And then we jump in 2027 with a 25 or 26% increase in requisition. And then we drop down to 7, and then we go to 3 and 3. And I know everybody says don't worry about it because it's next year. But I mean, if we're serious about long-term planning, that's about 40% over 5 years or 8% or whatever. It should be a leveling off of this and not the yo-yo up and down. So why are we going down and then going up? So I think from talking with staff that they're saying, where's the guidance on this? And we do have a reserve. If we go to page 7. That one, oh, that up one. Right there, you'll see in 2026 with a 3% increase in the operating contract, and meanwhile we're going minus 1.1, and then 50,000 is there for the trail exchange for I don't know how many years, 30 years, or something like that.
Yeah, those
or forever.
to
Yeah, and 185 for the New York Brickyard. This is the reason why I asked who owns the property, because we owned it. It's sort of like a mortgage, but we don't own it, so we're leasing it. So that's our lease costs or operational costs. So our operational costs are going up in 2026 if it comes through by 235,000. And so we should be increasing our requisition this year in anticipation of that amount and not reducing it, and thereby reducing that 25% hit and getting it down. So my recommendation to staff would be that staff look at leveling out the requisition and come back with a better leveling of the requisition.
Thank you, Chair. And that's what I was trying to get at with the requisition. You mentioned earlier on in the conversation about this leveling out, and I think that's what we should be doing. I don't like that yo-yo up and down.
Yeah. Do we have a consensus on this to see what the real cost would be then? Okay,
We can just do it.
staff direction.
Staff direction.
Yeah, that's sufficient.
And that's generally what we're looking for in the report, is to start incremental increases over the coming years to kind of get that. As we refine the numbers of in there, the new workshop and the trail exchange, those are best. Call it the guesstimates based on what the capital, based on the share that we'll receive, and then they're not final numbers. We've budgeted kind of that allowance, but the reality is the piece that goes with it is we pay for when they're in service. They could be in service in June, it could be September, and so there's some shift on those costs this year. So this is kind of our first throw everything in, and certainly we're happy to take it in the direction of staff, and as we've intended to now plan out that budget with a kind of a progressive increase over the 5-year plan, but using reserves to offset those increases, so we don't have like 20% spikes.
Yeah, and my second thing on this is going in the fact that we do not own the trail exchange and do not own the works yard. Our capital reserve, it should be questioned as to how much we really need in it. Do we need to cover the operating expense for 3 months? Or the bus shelters are stuff that we own. So I think the review should be, if our capital reserve is healthy, then we can use that to reduce the requisition over the next 8 years. If our capital reserve is not healthy, then we can look at that. That's another question I think that we should put towards staff. Yes.
Thank you. Have we probably have, but have we seen the plans for and the costs for the exchange downtown that the city will own? Because we're paying into it. So is it a Taj Mahal design? Is it a basic needs design? I just don't remember where that was at.
I can answer that. I think overall, I think it's functional for what's needed. The final design is going to trail at the end of this month, really in line with what we've seen.
Okay.
Danica, I'm not sure, do you want to add anything to specifics with the design there?
Sure. It's designed to meet the basic needs of the system as today and allow for a little bit of growth. So it does involve several bus bays for buses to pull in and have their layover time. It includes a public washroom as well as an operator washroom, and some couple bus shelters, benches, lighting and landscaping to make it look like an appealing area.
Okay.
I do have some some 3D renderings and designs that I'd be happy to share with you if you want to get a better
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, that'd be great, Danica. We did see basic designs quite a while ago, but I don't know when we've last seen them, but that would be great. Thank you.
I think since I presented to the committee last, we do have some 3D renderings, which will give you a much better idea of how it will look in real life and for pedestrians in the area.
Thank you.
So I'd be happy to distribute those after.
Okay, Danica, you send that to the staff, they'll distribute it. So the directions to staff is to review the requisition with the view of leveling it off. And then also to review the capital reserve requirements based on the fact that we're not buying any buildings or properties.
I think, through the chair, I believe there is about a $3 million budget for this project. Rings a bell.
The exchange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Through the chair,
Yeah.
the original budget kind of estimate was it's in the 3 million range, and then obviously with the cost share, and they've got federal provincial infrastructure funding and coming into the project as well. So, but yeah, the round about 3 million was the project overall project estimate.
Okay, anybody opposed to the direction of staff? Okay, next item. Oh, for the East End. So the full recommendation that are we that the East End Services Committee approve the 2026 work plan and defer to a future meeting. East End Transit 900 Service 5-year financial plan is presented to the East End Service Committee on January 2026. And further, the East End Service Committee provide direction to staff to any changes to be made to the 5-year plan. As want me to say that again? What I just
No, because that's staff direction. not the
Okay.
Motion.
Okay.
I've got the staff direction. We just
Okay.
need the motion.
anybody?
So moved.
Linda, Terry, Carrie, thank you. Okay, victim services. Nothing's changed there. We don't know, so I need a motion to defer. Unless you want to bring something up.
Well, I was just going to point out that, looking at restructuring, the complement there of staff, looking at 2 part-time for flexibility and perhaps a casual, I thought was a really good idea, offering flexibility that has not been there for a long time. So good idea from the group there.
Right.
One question, are they still using the dog with the service?
No,
Because it's at the
gone.
health center, okay.
I'll make the recommendation as presented.
Okay, seconder, Linda. Anybody opposed? Carrie, if you want to read that one.
As long as we don't skip.
oh, if I just
Yes.
one, sorry, to backtrack just slightly, to James, there was talk of, potentially us no longer doing the service. Is that still in the mix
Yeah.
down the road?
To clarify through the chair, us no longer doing the service as in we maintain the service, but the dialogue for Trail were the consideration for Trail to own the contract
Right.
as opposed to us not provide the service. Just clarifying if that's the question.
No, we weren't going to even be involved. No, there was that potential.
Through my recollection, no, we hadn't ever considered a service kind of closure. Kind of withdraw from the service. What we considered was the options to have the contract we continue to fund, but the contract maybe manage the personnel side of it through the City of Trail with their relationship with the RCMP.
Okay. Yeah,
And we
no,
have-
I remember that.
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
discussion.
And
We would still provide the umbrella,
Right.
everything would be.
So that may or may not be happening.
I met with City of Trail administration just to understand their connections and relationships with the RCMP and the staff models. As you may recall, Sergeant Wisenowicz indicated that could be a possibility. It may really not provide that many advantages over than the model we have. So it would involve us having that continued review between us, Trail, and the province in the contract. But I think we're moving forwards, and what I wanted to just add in closing point is the new staff sergeant is anticipated to start, I think, first week of February. And talking to Jen, what we see is probably beneficial is to come back in February to this committee with an update on here's where we are with the personnel, the recruitment, and this new structure model, as Sally mentioned, I think will really come into play when we've got the RCMP kind of the resource and leadership back at the table. So we hope to come back to you in February with kind of a working update for the service based on what you've seen today for the budget and the work plan. Thanks.
Okay, my apologies. I kind of rushed that through. If there anybody else has a question or clarification, okay. D, Culture, Arts, Recreation, Lower Columbia. Mark, you have the floor. Or the laptop.
I'll make this quick so you guys can get to lunch. Otherwise, it's 3 to 4.
What's lunch?
Can we just go straight to the main budget page? You guys, I'm sure you've read the preamble.
Is this one or what?
The spreadsheet.
Oh, you want the
Yeah.
spreadsheet? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So this year for 2026, we're looking at an increase to the requisition of 3.24% or $8,210. So not much changes within that in terms of an operations side, which this budget helps funds societies such as Blackjack Rec Ski Club, Casino Rec, Janelle Rec, Oasis Rec, Patterson, oh, not Patterson anymore, Rivervale, and the Area B subsidy program. So very much the requisition goes to help fund those societies and help them operate. The big showstopper in this budget this year, of course, is the Janelle Park project that we're working on, which is going to have a budget total of about $1.2 million this year. And we're seeing funding in this year's budget from Columbia Basin Trust for the tune of $950,000, Canada Community Building Fund of $295,000, and the Growing Community Fund of $354,000. That's the big in and out that you're going to see, which has really showed an increase in the budget overall. And just to give you a little bit of a highlight on how that project is progressing, we are working towards creating a tender document right now. All the engineered drawings are being drafted. We are making some really good progress now with the archaeological impact assessment. The provincial government has now forwarded on our application to First Nations consultation, which has 30 days from yesterday to respond to the project. We don't see any major red flags with that. So yeah, this project's green lighting and we're moving forward with it. I'm pretty excited. Getting back to the increase in the requisition of 3.24%, basic costs there include like salaries and mid fees and stuff like that, just the general, so nothing major there. We talked a little bit about the infrastructure levy. We didn't put it at the top of the budget under property tax requisition, but we may end up next year. Reason being is the assets that are owned there consist of Rivervale Park. And of course, that parkland area where we're going to be building this new park. So in hindsight of that, we've allocated $18,000 to the reserves for this year, and then $25,000 each year after that moving forward. And then I think once the park's in place and stuff like that, we can again look at putting the infrastructure levy below the property tax requisition if you want to break that out. So. Yeah, other than that, if you guys have any questions, this is pretty much status quo compared to last year, except for this major project. Right?
So the expenditures capitalized, that's mostly the Janelle Park. That won't buffer now.
Yeah. And that's phase one. So there's a potential for phase two after that, which Columbia Basin Trust verbally have committed more money to in the next year or two. So we're going to get the bulk of the project completed this year.
Linda?
Thank you to Mark for the work so far and the ongoing work. And it's great to be involved in this. And we did implement, originally it was broken into phase one and phase two, but we've pushed a lot of things from phase two into phase one because we wanted not to disrupt the community any more than possible for the closure of that area. Obviously, people have to realize if it's under construction, you can't have people wandering in there with equipment running and things going on. It's just not safe. So this will mitigate some of the length of closure of that area to get this project done in a timely fashion. as to not disrupt the neighborhood or the people of Janelle from being able to use, or others from being able to come in and use that, which they're already doing. So exciting. Thank you.
So Chair, I'm looking for approval, motion forward to approve this budget.
Linda,
Move.
Second.
Ally, anybody opposed? Carried. Okay. So, yeah,
Can I just clarify to Mark, just after to agree with the budget? We're at the moment, we're going through work plan approval and defer the budgets as it's written. However, we also, where we can, approve budgets with adjustments. For year-end actuals, and given this budget and kind of direction, I think interpreting that's what Mark is looking for.
so clarification, you're approving the budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, D, culture arts, oh, sorry, E. Don't be D, sorry. Where am I now?
D, yes.
D, yeah. Culture arts, recreational Lower Columbia, 018, Mark Danes.
Yeah, if we could go to the spreadsheet again, that would be great. So, since we sold the Greater Trail Community Center to Selkirk College, we've kind of gone from an operational to a flow-through budget, which helps fund some of the services that are in the building, but also funds communities through Columbia Basin Trust as well. Well, what's happened is, and this came from the direction, and when we were going through the sale and the process, James, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that obviously, costs are going to increase as we go along, and we're going to have to continue to subsidize those costs as they go. And we have been doing that, and we've been using some of the surplus every year to help offset some of those costs, keep the requisition in line, which you're seeing on the spreadsheet here, about 3.9% or $9,900. But this year, we're going to be using $6,500 from the reserve to offset the increase in the requisition. So, at some point in time, we're going to use up what's left in the reserves, which is showing a balance of $453,971. And one of the things that we understand may happen is that Selkirk College may decide to charge the user groups more money for rent, leases, and we kind of need to be prepared for that if that occurs. That they may be coming back to the table for us and asking for a little bit more money, and we kind of need to be prepared for that. I haven't heard anything this year, but potentially next year is what I'm hearing. So that's just something to keep in mind in the budget. What else do I have to say here? So there was another thought here in terms of capping out the reserves or looking to increase the requisition to be able to cover these expenses down in the future. So I just want to kind of put that out there so that you understand the situation we're going to be in, maybe not now, but in the next, could be 5 to 10 years, that we're going to deplete the reserves, and we have to think about how we're going to make up the shortfall there. Go ahead, Ellen.
Yeah, right. Thanks through the chair. So the 450 is monies from the sale, left over from the sale.
Yeah.
And we're just depleting that every year to pay for operations.
Well, more or less to for the societies over there, this money is going into that pot to help offset their costs, which is generally for their leases.
And so if we were to establish something, a minimum reserve amount to keep those grant monies going, what would we do with the balance of the reserves? If we weren't using them for that purpose? I understand why we probably don't want to do that, but say we decide to do that this year and going forward, and there's money sitting in reserves, what happens to that reserve money?
Well, I don't suspect it's going to be built up to a huge amount, James. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but.
Sure. And through the chair, I think that's one of the things we're just raising is a dialogue. This year, it's not critical, but as we're looking at the 5-year plans, there are increasing costs through the grants to the users in the building and the grants to CUNY Columbia Trail Society. So may increase and really should increase with the typical CPIs. So the longer we kind of use the reserve for, which is there's a whole load there now that has limited use. Now we don't own the building. The greater that gap is going to be between our requisition income and that expenditures to those grants. So before that grows too large, again, what we're looking at then maybe starting to increase the requisition so that matches what we want to see as the grants, rather than just continue to use the reserves.
Right. So I get that. But if we get to that point and there's still money in reserve, who owns the reserve money and what do we do with it?
The service owns the reserve money, and that's, I think, the other piece to consider is, do we want to set a minimum reserve amount? I know Bill's brought this up for some other services of saying, is 6 months or a year's cost of the grant the right limit for a reserve level, such that that's always there to pay them. That's another future decision, I think, in this strategic view of what's the future for the service and the costs, that we might want to reset a reserve policy or specific goal for this service to keep a reserve level, that we don't just keep using it for paying operating.
Yeah, like you could say, our reserve policy says an operating reserve is 1 to 3 months of the operating cost for the year. Well, we provide grants like lump sum to them. So one of the options is just say, okay, we'll go to the max. The reserve is going to be 3 months of the 300,000 approximately. Or you say the policy is that we won't go below 300,000 because that's how much we normally, 267 is the amount that we pay to these various societies. And you say anything beyond that offsets the requisition for the next 10 years. But if you look at page 2, where my bugbear is, if you can bring the budget to page 2, you'll see we have a 3.9% requisition and then an 8.5%, then 1 and 1 and 1. Well, why not 333 across the board, or 222 and use the reserves with the reserve policy? It's something more consistent for the long-term plan instead of the yo-yo. That's my thoughts. I just wondered, anybody else want to jump in?
Sorry, where's the yo-yo on this page?
If you look down in the yellow, you'll see the requisition is a 3.9%.
Oh, okay.
And then it's 8.5, then 1.8, 1.8, 1.7. So why don't we add 3 and 8 and 1 and 1 together divided by 5? Yes.
I agree with leveling it out and having it as stable as it can be across the board.
And at the same time, staff come back with a reserve policy of how much they want to hold and state why. Yes.
And is it necessary to hold on to reserve in this particular case?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah, okay.
That's
That's what I'm questioning.
Yes, if it wasn't there,
What would you have to put in the
would we create one for it?
I don't see any reason to personally.
Yeah.
Why don't we?
But that's what staff can come back with, the reason why they may want to hold on to some, like, but if we don't,
Yeah.
I'm not.
There are emergencies.
Yes.
sometimes. So I guess having some bit of a slush fund there to support that.
Like there was a band improvement or some gym, I don't know, we were doing something, and where'd we pull that money from?
The through the chair, we still have that in the budget, so that's built into the numbers that you see. But we have some funding for discretionary projects, which last year we sent to the theatre to help them finish the orchestra bit.
And that came from this budget?
Yes, it is.
This reserve?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 45,000 earmarked per year under unallocated recreation and cultural grants.
Yeah.
Just for this budget.
No, for the financial plan
Okay.
every year.
And also that would be my suggestion to staff, level out the requisition.
Yep.
And come back with a reserve policy for the capitals that are there.
You want to do that for this year? Or do you want me to work on that for next year?
This year.
And I'm all passed except for yours. Not your fault.
Didn't we already pass the budget?
I gave you a buy on the last one. Now I'm making you work on this
I
one.
need more work, man.
Yeah.
No, sounds good. Yeah, no problem. Okay, or you did that, me.
Okay, so, recommendation of the East End Service Committee defer a future meeting to the 2026-23 Culture, Arts, Recreation for the Lower Columbia 018 Service 5-year financial plan is presented to the East End Service Committee on January 2026. Further, the East End Service Committee provide direction to staff on any changes, which would be level out the requisition and review the capital reserve requirements and come back to the February meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Can I include that as staff direction again
Yes.
instead of the motion?
Yes, yeah, whatever you want to do to make it look good. Okay, next. Janine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So be quick about this one. It's electoral area director. So right now, if you just scroll down to the table, James, that's probably the easiest to look at. So the overall budget is increasing by 6.32%, or just over $3,000. Requisition is going up by 13.32%, $5,500. Just for information purposes, the tax rate there, that 0091 basically equates for $100,000 home, a change in taxation value of about 91 cents for that. So that 13.32% is 91 cents on a $100,000 home. So just to put it into context, and the real driver behind this is less surplus carryover, which means we spent more money on controlling invasive plants, but also additional costs for service provision. We've upped the contractor costs by CPI basically, and then CKIS, who we partner with for this service, has asked for additional costs as well. So those have been accounted for in this budget. So that's why you're seeing that increase. There's no infrastructure levy, no reserve balance, although one is being recommended potentially for future in case we don't receive grant monies from the province. That ranges in about $3,000 to $4,000 annually. So not a huge hit if we don't get it, but something to think about going forward. And there's been no change to the work plan. So
James, I need to see I don't have, my computer died. So I
So-
need to see the motion, please.
So if I may, so the motion is to approve the work plan and defer the budget, but I would recommend
Yeah,
that if their area director is willing to approve the 5-year financial plan based on its, how it's presented currently, the actuals are not going to change significantly.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I would
approve both.
recommend
Yeah.
approving both.
done.
Second.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you.
Linda, anybody opposed? Carrie.
Thanks, Janine.
Thank you. Enjoy, folks.
Thank you. Need that read.
No, good.
Okay. Okay, item F, economic development. Equations.
I'll move us quickly through these next couple. They're very much a work in progress, and I know we've got some longer discussions still coming up. So for this one, still not a lot of changes. You know, there's a lot of work happening in the background. This is the last year of our contract, so no big shakes in what we need to do with the budget here, and we'll be coming back sort of through the latter half of the year to look at contracting opportunities, the long-term kind of goals for the direction, you know, that CAM's, I think, working hard on a lot of different initiatives, the potential to really get combination with City of Trail. And this is really more of the focus, as I say, through the back of this year, for 2027 onwards, when we're looking at a new contract from this year. It's very much status quo.
Yeah, just really, really impressed with the direction this group is going with the work that and reporting that CAM is doing for us. I really like what's happening, and I'm prepared to move. What do you want here? Both of them, work plan and budget?
We don't have a work plan in this service, so it's
Okay.
just the budget, but we certainly could look at doing an approval of the budget with minor adjustments.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with the budget if I'll make that motion then and to move it forward.
Okay, I'll get the discussion. Move seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Anything opposed? Carried. I would like to make a direction to staff that we are running into election year, so I think what the LCDS needs is a contract before, so we're not handing it off to the next group. So I think direction to staff would be to come up with a new 4-year contract starting in June. Yes?
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the City of Trail, will that be possible to rework a contract with 7 of us?
Possibly
Are you trying really hard to do that?
our CFO is,
Okay. Because that would mean a lot of efficiencies for CAM, as you know.
as I do know.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm trying to stay in my lane, which is getting the East End 6, moving forward on a 4-year plan.
It's
Yes.
always been the desire of the 6 of us to go back to 7 of us.
And
Just regarding a 4-year term, 4-year contract, I appreciate that these organizations are looking for long-term commitments. And with the election and a potentially new board, I'm just concerned committing the next board to a 4-year contract. I mean, I understand that the advantage is for the organization, but CAM's new still, and I just wonder whether we should be cautious on that front.
no, it's just to start the process going. It could be 2, it could be 4 years. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling, and you and I have advice when we look at this, the long-term review, and talk to staff about it as well.
Thanks.
Is that okay with staff direction? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, cemeteries. Staff report.
I think this one even more simple, looking for a very small increase in the budget. This is generally flow through supporting the municipalities' service and operations work at the cemeteries. There's a large reserve that helps fluctuate the peaks and troughs of capital. So you don't see a lot of change for this this service, and there's reserve capacity to cover minor adjustments. So could certainly consider approval of this with minor adjustments, but happy for any questions or other direction.
I move the recommendations.
Yep, second.
Seconder alley.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody opposed?
To clarify, is it as written or for the budget as well to be approved?
I'm okay with the budget.
Me
Okay,
too.
move the budget. Frank, Ellie,
Yeah.
Thank you.
anybody opposed? Okay, carried.
Thank you.
Item K, Cooney Bound Regional Fire Rescue 2025 Statistics and Derby Regional Fire Chief.
Thank you. So for 2025 for our statistics, we were within like 39 calls of our busiest year. So 2023 being our busiest year, so just consistently up there. You know, James, if you can scroll down, that's not my mouse. I can scroll down. So yeah, just want to speak to at the top of that page, James, just go up a little bit. You know, like we do this comparative analysis on our fire reporting that we do with the Office of the Fire Commissioner of the value of property saved versus fire loss. And so you can see that, you know, like pretty significant spread between those two numbers. And, you know, continue to have good success when we do get early intervention into a fire, where we have like fire control at roughly 95% of structure fires on crews. We're continuing that to the area of origin. And that goes back to the training that we're doing together and working together in how we respond to these fires. You know, the mental health and drug related incidents continue to be a challenge across communities across the province. And recently looking at some chatting with you know, other chiefs, our numbers aren't out of skew with their experiences in other communities. And you know, it just continues to show, not just in our response, but also in the workload that we carry as leadership in regards to working with community groups and the City of Trail and others in regards to how we support the vulnerable population in our community. So moving down, just kind of shows the the call statistics kind of grouped there by color into different types of groups. And then the call distribution across stations. I think those were the key things. James, if you want to go to the last page, it was just, yeah, just a little bit about our education inspection program. And in our work, sorry that I said inspections twice, sorry, I'm just catching that the second inspection should be investigations. Sorry, my apologies. 38 investigations that were completed as a result of there. So that's where we're at for statistics. I've been happy to answer any questions.
Motion to receive.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah.
Chief, by community, the medical calls, I noticed that's not broken out. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's not, we haven't done that here. We've got
Right.
that data, but
Okay.
I can tell you, because I was looking at something this morning. Bear with me for 2 seconds. I want to say it was 468 or 463 off the top of my head, first responder calls in our paid on call stations versus the ones responded to from the trail station. So roughly 1,000, if you look at that 1435 incidents there, we responded to 1,400 first responder incidents. So roughly 1,000 were over the trail station.
Gotcha.
Right, just kind of right.
Yep. All right. A note to Fruitvale had substantially more calls than Roslyn. Or sorry, Fruitvale versus Roslyn. They're just wondering. Obviously, it includes Area A and Roslyn includes Area B. The incident numbers
Just can swing, year over year.
Yeah.
One of the things, well, I wouldn't want to comment because I'd be guessing, right? But it's just, we do see some swing there year over year of differences.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Anybody opposed? Received that report received. Okay. Fire inspection reports, item I. Yes.
So just wanted to, through the chair, this is on the agenda. This isn't a staff work as yet, but wanted to put it here as there was a request for information on fire inspection that may be answered, or if Director Greenfield raised the question, wanted further discussion for that future meetings or anything, we're happy to take direction.
I can make it very simple. Through the chair.
Yes.
Just because of the recent news story we saw in Switzerland with the referee or the bar that had no inspections for 5 years, I just don't remember. Do we see the reports? Does our department have the capacity to do yearly inspection on all public facilities? And do we see those reports? I think it's just something, just an FYI to us. I don't need to see a report other than to say all public facilities are being reviewed annually. I think our public would like to know that too, but I don't know if we're able, I don't remember. Do we do all public facilities every year? And do we see that information somewhere?
So the reports you shouldn't see because they're, it's private information, right? Like that, but at the same time, we strive to do, but we don't make that target, right? And so what I can tell you is in 2025, we had 808 inspectable properties in the service area. And we were able to get 544 inspections done, right? And the majority of the properties that weren't inspected in 2025 were what we classify as out of town, so outside of the city of Trail, because of staffing and overtime and the challenges we were having last year, we couldn't get people out to do those inspections. Part of the new Fire Safety Act and the new where the conversation I've been having with you about updating the bylaw is a new inspection program where it would be like we could look at doing risk-based inspections, and what that means is highest priority inspections are inspected maybe on a higher frequency than a year, maybe it's 6 months. And X business that's really good, that is a low risk business that's really good at having their, has a good inspection history, we might do every 2 years on that because, and so, but there is a whole process and workload, and you'll recall that I've been talking to you about that capacity that we don't have. But that's the current status.
Right, and through the chair, I certainly wouldn't expect to see a report to say you went to X facility on a certain day, but I think it's really good information to say we have 800 facilities and you're able to do X, but that what you review and when you review is under review. It's just good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Andy,
I noticed, or I heard Revelstoke was on the, fire department was on the news this morning, talking exactly about inspections, and obviously this is gonna be a priority for, because that means quite a facility, for firefighters and for communities.
Yeah. And it's also having gone through it when I started out my business downtown trail, and we misinterpreted the building inspection sign as being a 5-year-old one versus the new one. The fire department caught us on it, but they had to do a follow-up inspection. So it's not just the one inspection. It's if you're not in line, you have to do a follow-up inspection. And if they're a chronic abuser, it could be 3 or 4 inspections until they get it right. So it's not just one inspection. You have to look at the other two.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think through the chair, my point was just that somehow it would be nice to weave something into our agenda so that the public knows we are doing this with inspections, whatever it is. And I understand capacity for sure, Dan, and what you said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I may, let me think about whether we have reported this on this in the past. And there wasn't a lot of interest in it. And there's a lot of interest in it now. And so whether it belongs on the statistics
Yeah.
report or whether it belongs in the work plan, let me consider that. Interestingly, to the point on the radio, while we've been sitting here today, the radio's reached out to me to find out where we're at for inspections, for the exact conversation. They reached out specifically in regards to Rossland and Big White, and so we'll work with James on how we respond to that.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Frank.
Just one comment, I do like what you're saying about high priority inspections. I mean, even when I was working in HR about trying to get performance evaluations done, good luck on one manager and 60 staff doing one every year, right? So you do the high priority ones first. And maybe at some point you reported some of those issues you're having with different people in the area, and that would be in camera, I think. But anyways, I'm just saying that's the approach you have to take when you don't have enough resources.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to receive. Thank you. Hearing. Okay. Item J. Staff report work plan. Service 050. City boundary and fire rescue. Hearing.
So I think the big one to emphasize for the work plan specifically is the 2 changes to the work plan are there's included in a section in regards to the recruitment and retention in 2025. So our pay on call recruitment plan. And 2 is capital project was moved to 2027 as a result of our discussion at the last meeting where we moved the communications project to 2027. So in looking at the fire department budget, it's the requisition increase is a proposed 7.6% increase. And really a large part of what's happening in this budget is in regards to labor training, capital purchases, and debt servicing for apparatus. So, James, if you just scroll down just a little bit more there. So in regards to breaking that up a little bit, been working with finance in regards to the training piece and how we budget for our pay on call firefighters. And so we used to, under the training page, have everything in there in regards to training, labor, meals, tuitions, all of that in one page. The budget this year, it may look like there's a bigger jump in salaries and wages because we pushed those wages that were in training to wages so that the wages are all in one spot, right? And so we're basically what's happening is the budget is budgeting for 100% attendance at training nights for on-call members. Plus, it's budgeting for the training that's required in addition to that in the training center or additional training that's required based on all members attending. We don't always see that, and that's sometimes why it adds to our surplus conversation. And then it's on the our contractual side, there's an allocation there for anticipated wage increase in our union negotiations. Capital purchases, those are really about commitments that have already been made in regards to the last piece of the training center, the ladder truck, and the 3 wildland units. So those projects are all in play. And there's some use of reserve monies to offset some of those costs. And then the accompanying debt servicing that goes along with this. So James, if you just want to scroll down a little bit more, infrastructure levy, there's an infrastructure levy in the draft budget of 2% as per direction for your consideration. And that 2% is an additional 5.58% requisition impact. Next, under the reserve utilization, you'll see what we're proposing, how we propose to use the reserves in 2026. That's $8 million for the ladder truck, 105 to complete the training center with hopefully we can offset that by a UBCM grant. So bring that down to 75, 66,000 for building renovations in Trail and Fruitvale. And there was some carryover equipment that didn't land that was ordered in 2025. So it would be, those are commitments that were made in 2025, but the equipment's arriving in 2026. So it's just that allocation of that. The budget includes the new positions that were approved in November. And the last part I want to mention about the budget is last week we discovered a problem with the actuals in 2024. And so this is new to me. And so what's happened is that it was lower than accounted for in 2024. And so there was sorry, let me rephrase that. The actuals were not correct in 2024. So the surplus is actually higher for 2024 than the 2025 budget included. What that's going to do and what it's doing is impacting our reserves. We feel that it will impact the reserves to the positive, but there will be a report coming back to the board from finance addressing this particular issue at the board meeting at the end of the month. It doesn't affect the budget that we're discussing today for 2026 because this budget, I'm pleased to say that we don't run from the reserves. We always, from the surplus. We put that surplus money into reserve to help us with our capital purchase. So that conversation, it does impact the service, but it doesn't impact the budget conversation that we're having today. It may provide us an opportunity to use a little bit more reserves in one way or another, and we would include that in the February version of the budget if the number is big enough for that change. So I think with that, we're seeking approval of the work plan today and direction on the budget.
Thank you through the chair. If we took out the infrastructure levy for this year, which is, I'm confused by the paragraph there. If we take out the infrastructure levy, can I see the budget? And what will the increase be if we don't do an adjustment this year based on some other challenges we're facing?
infrastructure levy per se, it's an additional 5.5.
Oh, so the infrastructure levy is not part of the 7.6?
No, this is the way we were asked to present it, is
Okay,
very
okay.
cleanly that that's what it is.
Yeah, because if that's what it's gonna be, I kind of, because of other challenges we're gonna have, I'm kind of interested in holding on the infrastructure levy for this year. Just,
Right, so on that note then, okay, so when we go to residents, say, okay, here's your tax requisition gone up 7%, are we gonna have another line for the levy, or are we gonna combine them to say it's like 13% or whatever it is? Do you know?
That would not be.
Far ahead, the back.
Through the chair, the way tax work is we have two types of revenue. One is the requisition-based revenue, and for that, we have one account. So whether it is a operational increase of 7.6% or additional infrastructure, it will be combined in one.
Okay, so I'm just gonna see the total amount.
Yes.
Okay. that's
Frank,
all.
if I may.
Yeah.
The village of Fruitvale gets a letter saying you owe us $5 million.
Yeah.
That's it. Figure out the requisition on your own. Right? Am I right, Mark?
Absolutely, yes.
Alex?
sorry, so going back to the budget, if we add the levy in, what's the increase?
The increase as
13%. Yeah, 13%.
So our budget increase will go from 7.9 to 13.0
Or less.
ish,
Ballpark.
ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I, sorry, repeat your question, because I don't want to mislead you.
Can I see the budget page?
Page 2.
And so we're gonna go from 7.6 to 13 point something.
Yeah, and it's in the covering staff report.
Yeah.
And again, these staff reports.
Oh, I see. We're just adding those two. Yeah, because I think that's too high and I can't support that levy at this time.
Yeah. And anybody else before I jump in?
Go ahead, first, Bill.
Okay, yeah, I reviewed it as well as Ally, and when I interpreted 2% from Farhad, I anticipated 2% requisition, not a 2% on the capital, making it 5.58. Because I feel a 2% requisition would be more palatable to start off with. The other thing, before I jump in there, Dan, is the idea of an infrastructure levy is sort of like a leveling off process. And in 2027, you have 347, and then in 2020, you have 417, then 486, then 556. Does that mean you're trying to increase your infrastructure levy? Or is it just based on capital requirements?
That was based on capital requirements, and I think that that hadn't been determined, right? Like my focus, honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time looking at the
and then
future years on the infrastructure levy.
I'm
I anticipated this conversation,
yeah.
that this would be a challenge to get over the finish line.
I'm showing you where my brain is going. If we go to page 2, James.
James, can we get rid of the agenda on the side for just a moment, please? Thank you.
You go to page 2. That's not page. Here it is. You'll see 13%, then 28%, and then -7, then up to 7, then down to 5. That's hard to throw at any resident because it just, if we do that with every one of our service budgets, this is what we're telling our residents, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. So in general guidance, I'm trying to say the same thing I said to transit, same thing is come back with a leveling off. And my opinion is I could personally support a 2% requisition in capital to start off, but not a 7%, and
Through the chair, if we go to the last page of the budget, it will make it actually clear where the spike is coming from. And when you look at the gap, our starting point is the 2% of the gap. But if we think of 2% of the requisition, we can go 1% of the gap, which is around 2.5%. So if you go look at the last page, you will see that 2026 is 2% of the gap, 2027 is 2.5, then 2028, 3%, and this ramping up. So that's actually driving the, we can definitely smooth it out and making it kind of our floor is 0.5% of the gap, which will be 1.5% of the requisition. So we can definitely adjust that.
That's what I'm saying is more palatable, I think, to the ratepayers, to the taxpayers. I do notice the fact that, on the other thing is you have money coming out for the ladder and other various equipment out of 2 reserves. It seems one out is a general reserve, one out of
No, there's only one reserve in this budget.
well, here you go up one more. Go up one more. There you got capital,
So those are capital expenses.
right?
Yep.
And then up one more. And then you got again from the general capital fund. I'm trying to read this and it's 2 different figures. It comes up to $3 million.
So this is the way that finance shows revenue coming in from borrowing. So in the ladder truck, just using the ladder truck as an example, the ladder truck is 2,009,000. The page below shows $1 million from reserves. This $1.9 million is the portion that is financed. So this is the revenue, if you will, coming in from borrowing, coming into the budget.
Okay. Ally?
I guess at the end of the day, we just want to see the top number. However it's managed, massaged or whatever, like already 7.6 is a high number because let's not forget there's 72 services, right? And this is but one of them. I mean, I don't participate in all 72, obviously, but I just caution much higher than 7.6. It's add and up and then, you know, we kind of have to see at the end of the day, area B, here's your impact, area A, fruit belt, whatever. What is the impact at the end of the day? Obviously, we're not approving this budget today, but at the end of the day, I want to see the impact, the end impact for area A, right?
If I may, through the chair, just to move this forward because of the other conversations to get to, would it be acceptable to modify this budget with this dialogue about the 5 years and smoothing that out, and then knowing that between now and next meeting you'll go through the kind of the roll up of the budget, so we'll come with the board at the end of the month, start to see the bigger picture, and we'll bring this back for further consideration with essentially a 2% based on the requisition sort of levy, and then you'll get to see what that starts to look like in combination with all of the services.
Okay.
Sure, but I'm not sure if I'm at the 2% levy either. So I would like to see a 2% levy and no levy.
And essentially that would allow you to see, here's the budget numbers with it at 2%, and then if you took that 2% off,
that'd be great.
you'd be left with just the requisition.
That'd be great.
Okay, recommendation of these next.
May I just point something out that in the work plan before you go to motion, please?
Yes.
So just in the work plan, the other part that was added was in regards to our recruiting in 2025. So I just want to go to that table, James, on page 7, please. So just so in right there. So the Cole's notes of this that I'm trying to show you is this table, in that we had a recruitment campaign that ran in the spring summer. Ultimately, we onboarded 15 new recruits, and we, as of January 1st, you know, we've had some drop off in Janelle, but in our other stations, those members have stayed on. So we currently are, that's where our status that we're currently sitting at in the makeup of our paid on call stations. And we continue to have, 11 of those new recruits just wrapping up their training. What I want to celebrate today is that they're wrapping up their training. Each one of them, because they missed something here and there, has like a module here or a module there to finish. But inside of 6 months, they've completed their exterior training, which was taking 2 to 3 years in the past.
Wow.
And not only have they completed that training, but they've completed that training consistently, and every one of them is at the same level, right? And so this is a real operational advantage in doing it the way we did. And, you know, my appreciation to acting Captain Langman for his work leading that recruit class, and my Deputy Chief Gallimore and I met with the recruit class week and a half ago, and they were kind of their last night in on a Monday night. And I just opened and ended with thank you, because it was a big time commitment on their part. But some of them were like, they wanted to keep going at this pace. Like, that's like, it was working and it worked, right? Can it be tweaked? Yes. Can it be improved? Yes. But overall, it worked.
Wonderful.
Okay. Right, before we go to the vote, a couple questions. One, in this report, you talk about you applied for a grant to CPT of 608,000 and you haven't received notice yet. Do you know when you're gonna receive notice or not?
I've got some communication, but it's in confidence.
Okay, so if we get the 600,000, that's gonna decrease our capital cost. Okay. And then for the training structure, have you started training people outside of this area?
We have not.
Do you have plans to do that?
I
Because when we first heard about the training thing, there was talk about mitigating costs by bringing others outside the area to train.
Yep.
Try. Okay.
Andy,
One more question, just because Ali was pushing this point about the levy. So Dan, just remind me, and I thought I heard you say it earlier. The levy is based on future capital purchases, correct? So that's the only thing we have to keep in mind, that, yeah, that's important to know. It's not just a reserve fund or whatever. So just so we know.
I think the thing that I want to say here is I was following the direction that you gave, right? And so,
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? If, you know,
It's only 2% or less,
Yeah.
less this year.
Yeah.
And next, what about next year and the year after and beyond? So
Right.
it's gonna be something that
Well,
conversations gonna have to be ongoing.
see what the February report
Right.
goes. Okay, so, recommendation that the East End Service Committee approve the 2026 work plan and defer a future meeting for the 2026 Gooding Valley Fire Rescue Service financial plan as presented to the East End Services Committee. Further, that the East End Service Committee provide direction to staff as to any changes being made to the 2026-2035 year plan. And you have that stuff. Okay,
So moved.
Mike, Andy, opposed, carried. Okay.
I don't think we're gonna have time.
No, Andy, I'm sorry, I don't think we're gonna have time for Andy. So I don't think we got time for your thing, because we got to.
We can bring it back in February.
We can bring it back in February.
Too late by then.
Yeah, but
As far as the resolution
I
goes.
think if you bring it up at education advocacy,
Sure, I can talk about it there.
yeah, I think everybody's in favor of that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
As long as the chair is okay with that.
discussions for future agenda items. You have the list that we provided. If not, another list will be provided. Okay, question period for the public and media in the back. Are you representing an organization or just yourself?
Just myself.
Okay, come forward, state your name and ask what you want.
Dave Lucio from Janelle. Would it be okay if I made a statement, in reference to the May 2025 meeting?
That's, yeah,
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude to all the board members. You bravely reversed the staff recommendation and kept the hope of the Janelle Volunteer Fire Department's viable public service, and I thank you for that. I do have a question. And in light of the conditional operation of the Janelle Volunteer Fire Department, my question is this: will the Janelle Volunteer Fire Department participate in this year's June recruitment drive?
That's a cheap question, I would say.
Yeah, I've been given no direction otherwise at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Okay, anybody online? Raise your hand or start speaking if you wish to ask a question. Okay, going second time around, anybody from the public online? Third time, anybody from the public online? Hearing none? I will move to gonna have to move in camera.
Motion to go in camera.
Yeah, seconded. Okay, I'm gonna ask the public to leave as we're going in now. I'm gonna put it together. Yes, okay. And take a break, 5-minute rest break, toilet break, whatever.